Gambia, Angola, China Holding, Gash, producers of the finest tomato paste in the Gambia. Jaja tomato paste, available in 5 kilos, 1 kilo and in sachets. For wholesale and retail, visit our factory at Banjulonding. We are also producers of Jaja mineral water, cool, clear and fresh. Gash, Gambia, Angola, China Holding, with headquarters at Fatu Golden Plaza, Mile 7, Bertel Harding Highway. Gash Group also provides the best security company, Gash Security, for your offices, warehouses, homes and personal property. Gash Group for all your construction projects, offering you quality water reticulation for your gardens, pump irrigation, tidal irrigation projects and all types of buildings. You can contact Gash on 396-7894, 700-8993, 373-0259. Visit us at Gash Global Group on Battle Harden Highway, Fatu Golden Plaza. Our website www.gashglobal.com. Gambia, Angola, China Holding, Gash.
Sophie Milk ñu ngi fété juróom benn ati cafka bu dul dañ ñoo leen indil Jalika full cream milk powder neex saf sàpp te bari cafka pour di leen jërëjëfati si ni ngeen defee Sophie Milk seen favorite milk brand léegi mun ngeen a jëfandikoo empty Jalika milk sachets wala carton pour gagner ay xéewal yu riche. Pour gagner motorbike dajaleel fukk ak juróomi empty carton yi Jalika milk pour gagner yeneen xéewal yu mel ni PlayStation 4, TV, fridge freezer, gas cooker, bicycle wala mobile phone. dajaleel fukk ak juróomi empty Jalika milk sachets def leen si biir enveloppe binda si sa tur ak sa téléphone number. Mun ngeen ko yóbbu si bépp Jalika milk agent bu leen gën a jege. Pour xam bi si raful yi dem leen Jalika milk Facebook page. Jalika milk mooy meew bu ees bu leen so fi indil gën a neex saf sàpp te riche.
It's a warm reception to our studio here in Serakunda. This is Star TV News with me, Dada Cham. In the headlines tonight, police launches manhunt for suspect as it arrests 5 Ghanaians over illegal fuel importation. Chief driver at office of the Vice President passes away. Defense Minister visits US to broaden the defense and security ties. Sport Minister meets Anoka, Prezi and Secretary General in Tokyo. Imam Malik schools hold a graduation ceremony for 43 students. Help Gambia wages splits on waste. On the international scene, China races to contain Delta variant as COVID-19 outbreak spreads. Mexico referendum on trying former presidents falls short. Poland grants humanitarian visa to Polynesian Olympic athlete. Those were the headlines, and now the news in detail. The police have launched a manhunt for an individual believed to be part of the Ghanaians arrested on suspicion of illegal importing fuel into the country. Personnel of the Delta Plateau of the Police Intervention Unit, in conjunction with GRA Intelligence Unit, intercepted 37,000 litres of diesel as part of an operation at the Wafinjaga, the police said in a statement on Tuesday. Meanwhile, the police have launched an intensive manhunt for another suspect. Until his demise, Kebasi was the chief driver at the office of the Vice President. According to a press release from the office of the Vice President issued to this medium on Tuesday, the former chief driver suddenly passed away at Dembam Clinic in Bakau on July 31st and was laid to rest on 1st August in Manjai Kunda. This sad news is extended to the President of the Republic of the Gambia, His Excellency Mr. Adam Barrow, Secretary General, to Cabinet and entire Cabinet and Government, said the press release. The Vice President, Dr. Aissatou Toure, meanwhile described the death as a huge loss to the office and the entire country, noting that the deceased was a hard-working, spirited and dedicated staff. The Minister of Defense, Sheikh Omar Faye, was recently in the US, where he had a series of discussions with relevant authorities in the US on issues relating to the strengthening of the security cooperation between Banjul and Washington. The defense minister traveled to the US on 26th July and during his official trip that ended on the 30th of July. He held fruitful discussions with US defense and security officials. More in this report.
Minister Sheikh Omar Faye was at the Pentagon on 27 July, where he met with Mrs. Chidi Blyden, Deputy Assistant Secretary of Defense for African Affairs. Their meeting centered around a range of issues, including capacity nourishment opportunities for the Gambian Armed Forces and the security situation in the Sahel. During their discussion, the Defense Minister brought the DAS Blyden up to speed with the security sector reform. Minister Faye told Mrs. Blyden that the security sector reform process has been comprehensive, inclusive, participatory and holistic. This, he informed the top Pentagon official, is geared towards better addressing the security needs of all Gambians. He also used the meeting to express Gambia's willingness to effectively participate in UN peacekeeping missions to foster international peace and security. For her part, Das Blyden commended the Gambia for what she described as achieving so much in a short period of time. Mrs. Blyden applauded Gambian peacekeepers for what she called maintaining an unblemished record in their UN-mandated operations. Meanwhile, the defense minister was conducted on a tour of the Pentagon, one of the world's largest office buildings that headquarters the U.S. Defense Department. Prior to his Pentagon meeting, Minister Faye visited the Washington-based Center for Strategic and International Studies, where he held discussions with the center's director for Africa, Mr. Jude Devimount. He was accompanied there by the Permanent Secretary at the Ministry of Defense, Mrs. Ndemba Rinjai, and his liaison officer, Major Basiru Sarr. The discussions centered on the capacity development for Defense Ministry staff, the ongoing security sector reform, the evolving security situation in the Sahel, and collaborations in the enhancement of national and regional security networks. Minister Faye and his delegation also met with Mr. Stanley Brown, Acting Principal Deputy Assistant Secretary at the U.S. State Department. The discussions focus on peacekeeping and possibly for the Gambia to be a member of the Global Peace Operations Initiative. Minister Faye and Das Brown agreed for discussions on this matter to continue through diplomatic channels. Minister Faye also held a telephone conversation with Her Excellency Linda Thomas Greenfield, Parliament representative of the United States of America to the United Nations. They exchanged pleasantries and conversed on the importance and relevance of the United Nations in maintaining global peace and order. They agreed to work closely together to address security challenges in the Sahel region. After his engagements in Washington, D.C., Minister Faye and his delegation visited the prestigious West Point Military Academy in New York, where he held talks with the Chief of Staff of the West Point Military Academy, Colonel Mark Weathers. During his visit to West Point, the minister met with Cadet Kobna Mane, who is the first ever Gambian to gain admission to this internationally recognized and well-respected institution. The minister encouraged the cadet to work harder in order to obtain good results and return to the Gambia at the end of his training to contribute to the work of the military in the Gambia. Minister Faye was also taken on a tour of the West Point Military Academy, the oldest continuously operated army post in the United States. Minister Faye, meanwhile, described his engagements with the U.S. authorities as fruitful and rewarding, noting that all his meetings were with high officials in strategic U.S. institutions. He expressed the hope that his encounters have created a better understanding of the Gambian situation and will facilitate deeper and more vigorous collaborations between military establishments in the Gambia and the United States. Jacqueline Coley, reporting for Star TV News.
The Minister of Sport, alongside executive of the Gambia National Olympic Committee, held a meeting with the President and Secretary General of the Association of National Olympic Committee of ANOCA. The meeting was part of Minister Bakari Badji's engagement while attending the ongoing Toyo Olympic Games. Jacqueline Coley reports.
Mr. Mustafa Baref, President of the Association of National Olympic Committees of Africa, ANOCA, introduced the minister to the activities his association is engaged in to develop sports on the continent. He emphasized the good relationship between his executive and the GNOC. Minister Baji meanwhile expressed appreciation to ANOCA for providing support to the GNOC over the years. He informed the president that government through his ministry is prioritizing infrastructural and grassroots sports development as means to identify and train more great athletes who will compete at international level. Youth and Sports Minister Bakary Badji requested the Association of National Olympic Committees of Africa to support the GNOC as it works to complement his ministry's infrastructural development and equipping associations with sporting equipment, making special reference to basketball and volleyball, which are prominent in the Gambia. This appeal received provisional approval from the ANOCA president, who requested that a proposal be submitted on the most needed support. Meanwhile, during his visit to the Olympic Village, the Youth and Sports Minister held a meeting with the Gambian delegation and expressed his gratitude to the Olympians for being good ambassadors. He did also congratulate them for their level of commitment and dedication shown in the high level of their performance. Sports Minister Bakary Badji was part of the dignitaries at the Tokyo Olympic Games to cheer up the Gambian athletes. Jacqueline Coley for Star TV News.
Help Gambia over the weekend embarked on a massive environmental cleansing exercise in the provincial town of Farafenni. The exercise saw local volunteers wedged in plates to rubbish in various parts of Farafenni. Modu Albaji has more.
Help Gambia is a local NGO with volunteers within the country and outside it. The cleansing exercise was part of the NGO's interventions in addressing indiscriminate dumping in major towns as well as promoting the culture of environmental cleanliness in communities. The program coordinator of Help Gambia, Dauda Cham, said the exercise was part of efforts in achieving the organization's goal of ensuring a trash-free Gambia. Mr. Cham explained how Help Gambia was able to mobilize up to 500 young people for the exercise.
A lot of people normally are surprised when they see the turnout that we have in our event. So this is the approach that we use. We don't leave anyone behind. We ensure that everybody is part of the exercise. So that is why today, if you look at here, in fact, young people, little children.
Mas Chati, a native of Farafenni, applauded Help Gambia for their passion in promoting environmental hygiene in the country. He expressed delight in taking part in what he described a noble initiative. Another native of Farafenni, Pendaso, said unhygienic environment has been posing lot of health hazard to the community. She described these dangers to poor waste management as he urged fellow residents to be environmentally sensitive. Meanwhile, the Farafenni cleansing exercise followed similar ones in the Kanifing Municipal Council, West Coast, and the Upper River regions. For Star TV, I am Modu Elbaji.
Those were the local stories. We will be back with international news after the short break.
Gambia, Angola, China Holding, Gosh, producers of the finest tomato paste in the Gambia. Jaja tomato paste, available in 5 kilos, 1 kilo and in sachets. For wholesale and retail, visit our factory at Banjulunding. We are also producers of Jaja mineral water, cool, clear and fresh. Gosh, Gambia, Angola, China Holding, with headquarters at Fatu Golden Plaza, Mile 7, Bertel Harding Highway. Gosh Group also provides the best security company, Gash Security, for your offices, warehouses, homes and personal property. Gash Group for all your construction projects, offering you quality water reticulation for your gardens, pump irrigation, tidal irrigation projects and all types of buildings. You can contact Gash on 396-7894, 700-8993, 373-0259. Visit us at Gash Global Group on Battle Harden Highway, Fatu Golden Plaza. Our website www.gashglobal.com. Gambia, Angola, China Holding, Gash.
Sophie Milk ñu ngi fété juroom benn ati cafka bu dut dañ ñoo leen indil Jalika full cream milk powder neex saf sàpp te bari cafka pour di leen jërëjëfati si ni ngeen defee Sophie Milk seen favorite milk brand léegi mun ngeen a jëfandikoo empty Jalika milk sachets wala carton pour gagner ay xéewal yu riche. Pour gagner motorbike dajaleel fukk ak juróomi empty carton yi Jalika milk pour gagner yeneen xéewal yu mel ni PlayStation 4, TV, fridge freezer gas cooker bicycle wala mobile phone dajalal fukk ak juróomi empty Jalika milk sachets def leen si biir enveloppe binda si sa tur ak sa téléphone number mun ngeen ko yóbbu si bépp Jalika milk agent bu leen gën a jege pour xam bi si raful yi dem leen Jalika milk Facebook page Jalika milk mooy meew bu ees bu leen so fi indil gën a neex saf sàpp te riche.
Welcome back after the commercial break. If you're just tuning in, this is Star TV News from our studio in Sarakunda. And now the news beyond our borders. Provinces across China have imposed tougher restrictions in an effort to contain the country's worst coronavirus outbreak in months. Al Jazeera's Katrina reports from China.
The highly infectious Delta variant has broken through China's strict COVID-19 defenses. Closed borders, strict lockdowns and mass testing have not been enough to prevent the country's worst outbreak in months. Hundreds of cases have been found in more than 30 cities in 16 provinces. China's leaders say the capital Beijing must be protected at all costs. Several neighborhoods are under lockdown after infections were discovered last week. Flights, trains and buses from affected areas have been suspended. Residents have been warned not to leave the city. 2-week quarantines have been imposed. Large-scale events have been cancelled and public venues ordered to limit capacity. Contact tracing teams have been mobilized.
Confirmed close or secondary contacts will be quarantined. Those who live and work with them will be banned from joining any gatherings and also subject to closed-loop management by their workplaces or local community.
The outbreak originated early last month in the southern city of Nanjing. Airport janitors tested positive after cleaning a flight which arrived from Russia. The city's more than 9 million residents underwent 3 rounds of testing in 2 weeks. Authorities have identified a possible super-spreader event in the tourist hotspot of Zhangjiajie, where several cases were linked to a theatre performance attended by 2,000 people. The attraction has been shut down and tourists told to stay away.
Up until July, much of China had reported 0 coronavirus cases. The apparent success had been a source of national pride. But this latest flare-up of the Delta variant has thrown into question Beijing's COVID-19 strategy and put more pressure on the nation's vaccine rollout.
China's current strategy of zero tolerance should improve. We must learn to coexist with the coronavirus. We need to accept that it's impossible to be completely free of the virus for a long period of time.
Health officials say more than 1.6 billion vaccines have been administered so far, but they've warned being vaccinated may not be enough to avoid catching the Delta strain. The government has begun vaccinating children and is considering offering booster shots to vulnerable groups. The outbreak threatens China's economic recovery and its ability to host spectators during the 2022 Winter Olympic Games. Last year, President Xi Jinping declared victory over COVID-19, a declaration, it seems, that was premature. Katrina Yu, Al Jazeera, Beijing.
A referendum in Mexico on whether to investigate and prosecute 5 former presidents for alleged corruption has failed because not enough Mexicans voted. Al Jazeera's John Hallman reports from Mexico City.
The referendum in Mexico on Sunday sounded groundbreaking, a vote to decide whether to go after 5 of the country's ex-presidents for corruption. In the end, it was a damp spectacle. Only 7% of the electorate voted. 9 out of 10 of those who did vote to bring their ex-leaders to trial.
I think that the most important thing here is that impunity ceases in this country.
But 40% of the electorate had to vote for the referendum to be legally binding. It fell far short. Most Mexicans do believe that corruption has been prevalent in past administrations, but many asked, why should a vote be needed for justice to be done?
I believe that the people should not be consulted on whether to prosecute a president or not. The government should just apply the law.
Especially as Mexico's constitution already allows for ex-presidents to be prosecuted. Opponents of current president Andrés Manuel López Obrador said this was all just political theatre. In turn, his party accused electoral authorities of not putting out enough ballot boxes or information for the referendum to be a success.
It's not a question of budget, but of will. They didn't have enthusiasm for the vote, and they don't have enthusiasm for democracy.
The main question of the referendum was also changed by the country's Supreme Court, who ruled it wasn't legal to directly ask voters if past presidents should be tried. At the start, it seemed pretty clear. Do you want the judiciary to investigate these men? But it turned into something quite different. Have a listen. Are you or are you not in favour of the pertinent actions to undertake a process of shedding light on the political decisions made in past years by political actors? It goes on, but you get the idea. It gets pretty hard to see what you're actually voting on. So now it's all over. What, if anything, will the referendum mean heading forward?
My general impression is that the president does not want to start something similar to a transitional justice process, even though he promised that during his campaign. And my fear is that if he had not done this during the first 3 years of his mandate, that is not going to change with a referendum in which only 7% of the population participated.
There is some talk of a truth commission to deal with a wide variety of past transgressions. If that's formed and is effective, will probably have less to do with this vote than the will of the president. John Holman, Al Jazeera, Mexico City.
Olympics officials are waiting to hear from the Belarusian sport body on the case of the sprinter Kristina Simashuekia. She has been given an humanitarian visa by the police embassy in Tokyo. Al Jazeera's Laura Bonder reports.
Kristina Timanovskaya likely expected this kind of media attention while competing in the 200-meter sprint at the Olympic Games. But instead she found herself seeking asylum at the Polish embassy in Tokyo. That's after she criticised her coaches for trying to place her in the 4x400-meter relay without her consent. It's an event she hadn't trained for. She says she was then forced to go to Tokyo's Haneda airport on Sunday, where she asked Japanese police to help her seek asylum.
I'm asking the International Olympic Committee for help. There's pressure against me, and they're trying to get me out of the country without my permission. So I'm asking the IOC to get involved in this.
And the IOC did intervene.
Spoke to the Belarus athlete Kristina Simanouskaya directly last night. She was with the airport authorities at Haneda Airport and was at the time accompanied by a staff member of Tokyo 2020. She assured us and has assured us that she feels safe and secure.
The problem began after the Belarusian athlete was drafted into the race after her team members were ruled ineligible. The Belarus National Olympic Committee hadn't followed protocol in its drugs testing. But her head coach and some of the team members say Timanovskaya left the competition because she suffered from mental health issues.
She stood out for her behaviour. We have known her for a long time and there was something wrong with her. She secluded herself sometimes and sometimes she didn't want to communicate. We have a young team who are very hard to cheat. We were getting some signals that something was happening to the girl.
We have seen her anxiety, some chaotic moves. Something was bothering her. In the beginning of the Olympic Games, she was keeping quiet and calm. But then there were some actions which disappointed all of us, all the supporters, and wounded our country.
The Belarusian government has not commented on Poland's decision to help Simanouskaya. But rights groups say many athletes in Belarus have been detained and excluded from national teams. It follows last year's mass protests against President Alexander Lukashenko's disputed election victory. Back in Tokyo, Timanovskaya said she was deprived of her right to compete. But at least for now she's safe in the Polish embassy. And she hopes they can help to secure her future. Laura Badamani, Al Jazeera.
Before we end the news, a recap of our main headlines. Police launches manhunt for suspect as it arrests 5 Ghanaians over illegal fuel importation. Chief driver at Office of the Vice President passes away. Defense Minister visits US to broaden the defense and security ties. Sport Minister meets Anoka, Prezi and Secretary General in Tokyo. Imam Malik schools hold a graduation ceremony for 43 students. Help Gambia wages pledge on waste. On the international scene, China races to contain Delta variant as COVID-19 outbreak spreads. Mexico referendum on trying former presidents falls short. Poland grants humanitarian visa to Polynesian Olympic athlete. That's all for this edition of the news. Thank you for watching and join us for tomorrow's news.